Welcome to all of you beautiful, highly intelligent, honorable viewers. And also welcome to the people who don't press the like button. Anyways, today we're going to be discussing the Nintendo Switch 2 and its absurdly ridiculous price schemes. And more importantly, we're going to be discussing the people who are defending it. We're going to break down every major argument they have and destroy it. And if I forget an argument, leave it in the comments section. And maybe I'll make a part 2 to this and destroy that as well. Okay, so let's start with the most idiotic argument of them all, the tariffs. So the argument goes something like this. Trump is evil. Oh my God, he's so evil. Also, did you know he's orange and he made tariffs and tariffs are evil? Oh, it's all tariff fault. You know, don't support Trump. Evil, he evil. Oh. Let's go ahead and give this argument the time it deserves. I wasn't aware that the UK and Canada also elected Donald Trump to run their countries, and he also increased their tariffs. Otherwise, how can you explain them being even more expensive than the US? Moving on, all of the rest of their arguments can be rolled into one thing that destroys them all. So I'm going to mention all three, except for one. It's the Chad argument that they have. Okay, we'll address that at the end. They do have a Chad argument. Okay, all right. I can't debate that one. We'll talk about that one at the end though. Games cost a lot more to make now. You must pay more because games cost more to make. Don't you understand? You know what? I am going to address this one individually. I'm not going to destroy it with the easiest, biggest point that destroys it. I'm just going to destroy it with some minor points. Okay. So, how much do you think it costs to develop Breath of the Wild for the Switch 2? Well, that's right, nothing. You can just play it on your PC, and it runs better than on the Switch 2 and looks better than on the Switch 2. It's just running on better hardware. The development cost for Breath of the Wild on the Switch 2 is somewhere between $0 and $0. It's a $70 game. A game that is nearly 9 years old, that was $60 when it came out. Instead of being released as a Nintendo Select game and dropped down to half the price, which is what Nintendo used to do before they were greedy pieces of shit. Instead, 9 years later almost, they're like, you know what we're gonna do? I got an idea, boys. Let's raise the price to $70 for a game that is nearly 9 years old and we had zero development cost on. Good job. Now, there's another argument that completely destroys that argument, but I'm going to save that for near the end. Next, old games, sometimes they costed a lot more money. Trust me, I was there when it happened, and I'm not just repeating this argument. Okay, next argument. Because these two arguments are destroyed with the same argument. Inflation. Games should be more expensive now because money worth less. This inflation, stupid. This is how world work. You should have to pay more. I'm an economic expert and I know these things. Trust me, I'm not just repeating what someone told me. You need to pay more for Switch 2. Okay. Let's go ahead and address those arguments real quick. See, there's a little something you don't know about economics, and that's that the things that control the prices of things are a lot more than inflation. There's a lot of stuff that controls these prices. So how could old video games have had such varying prices that were so wildly high? But up until recently, they could still charge $60 for games. I wonder what changed. Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of stuff that affects the price of things. Let me go ahead and give you one thing. The number one thing that affects the prices of things. You ready for this? The amount of money they make at the end. Their profit margin. Yes, that's it. The amount of money they make. Notice that these people who talk about how much money people used to have to pay for the price of games, which, by the way, back when they were on physical carts, and when they were the most expensive, that was mostly due to the fact that there were special chipsets in certain games that drastically increased the price of the game because the game didn't run on the console alone. there was hardware in the cartridge that would help the game run. Cartridges now are just hard drives. They're just hard drives that hold the games. And before you say, well, that still applies to Nintendo, because Nintendo, the hard drive that runs the game, they have to charge more because certain games are bigger, therefore they require more storage, and it is a physical medium still. Well, why weren't they doing it on the Switch? There were plenty of really big games on the Switch, and all but Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, the game they knew they could get away with, were still $60 games. Weird that, huh? But here's the biggest problem. Here's the thing that no one ever brings up when they talk about this. How much money did video games company used to make back then? And how much money do those same companies make now? Oopsie. Looks like your argument was destroyed. How is it that they can charge only $60 and make more money than they ever made before? How does that work? How do video games cost more than they've ever cost to make in history, but they still make more money now than they used to make back then? And that includes adjusted for inflation. More people buy games now than they used to. Ta-da! Your argument's destroyed. Let me put this in perspective. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe probably had a development cost of under $10 million. It was simply a port with some DLC added. The game was fully finished. It was a port with some DLC added. It sold like 67 million copies. That's like $4 billion. When you take out like taxes and things like that, they're still left with billions of dollars in profit. Compare that to the profit they made on Super Mario Kart. We don't have those exact numbers, but based on the number of sales, they sold about 9 million units back then. That's a lot of copies of the game back then. That's big boy sales. Big boy sales. And their estimated profits for the amount of money they were charging over the lifetime of the console and the sales is about $200 million. Even adjusted for inflation, that's only about $500 million. Whereas Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a port of a game that had near zero development cost, made 4 times that in profits. Easy, maybe much more. So maybe you're not getting it. Maybe you're not getting why. So let me put this in perspective. I went ahead and asked ChatGPT a question. I asked it about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and its likely profit margin based on how it was developed. And I asked it if I was to buy enough materials to make a $3 hamburger, and I was to sell that $3 hamburger, how much would I have to sell it for to have the same profit margin? Well, let me give you the too long didn't read section of it. $600. Yeah. For me to have the same profit margin that Nintendo has, I would have to charge about $600 for my burger. But that's something most people already inherently know. They already know that the amount of money these people are putting into making these games doesn't equal the amount of money they make. They're not simply making 2 or 3 times what they invest. They're making an insane amount more money than they invest. Even when it's a fully newly developed game where they spend a couple $100 million making it, it's one of the more expensive ones, they still make bank. There's a reason why they're not afraid to spend a couple $100 million making a video game. It's because they make just that much money on video games back. There's a reason why the people running these companies get paid so much money, and it's because video games make so much money. We look at these companies and we don't see them being like, other than of course the ones that are setting their companies on fire, like Ubisoft, unbelievably stupid companies like that. The vast majority of them, as long as they make the video game that people want to play, they make way more money than just about any other industry out there. Their profit margin is insanely high. even when it's a freshly developed game and not a port. So now that I've successfully armed you guys on the inflation argument and the old games used to cost more argument, and it costs more to make video games argument, and how easily it is to destroy it, just simply go, yeah, but how much money did video game companies used to make then, and how much money do they make now? And you'll find that they won't be able to answer that question. They're just going to have to move on, because they make a lot more money now than they used to make then, even when they charged $60 for the games and not $80. Moving on to the final argument, the Chad argument. The one that I just can't fight against. Here we go. What are you, poor or something? You can't afford to buy the game? It's too expensive for you? Boo-hoo. Get a better job, bitch. I got nothing to say to those people. Thanks for hurting my feelings. Congratulations on having such a great life and lots of money where you don't have to worry about that thing. Congratulations on your giant cock, Mr. Chad. I'm sorry. You put me in my place. Thank you, sir. Yeah, there's nothing I can say to that. There's nothing I can say to that. Rich people can buy whatever the fuck they want. They don't have to worry about wild, over ridiculously charged things. They just that's how they roll. You know, that's how they roll. And congratulations to them. Seriously, there is no argument against that. Yeah, if you have the ability to get wealthy and just buy whatever you want when you want it, then none of this shit matters to you. It's kind of rude and mean for you to slap your cock out on the table like that and tell me that I need to pull out mine. But okay, sure. Moving along to the conclusion of this video, and that's that. Let's discuss the actual reason Nintendo rose the prices. Because they're greedy and they think that people will pay it. That's it. I miss Iwata, man. I miss Iwata. All these ridiculous things, they started happening. Like, you look at Luigi's Mansion 2. Luigi's Mansion 2. All right, actually, let's talk about Luigi's Mansion 1 first. So Luigi's Mansion 1 released on the GameCube for $49.99. A long time ago, guys. A long time ago. It was then later released on the 3DS for $39.99. $10 cheap. Also a long time ago. At some point, they decided to come out with Luigi's Mansion 2, which released on the 3DS in the year of our Lord 2018 for $39.99. Later on, as in only 3 years later, it became a Nintendo Select game. Y'all remember Nintendo Select? Why don't they do Nintendo Select anymore? Iwata died, that's why. And when it became a Nintendo Select game 3 years later, it got new box art and became a game that they charged $19.99 for it. Let's fast forward to today's date. What did Luigi's Mansion 2 cost to port to the Nintendo Switch? The answer is virtually nothing. Modders do that shit for free. How much did it cost Nintendo? Virtually nothing. How much did Nintendo decide they need to charge for their game that they were charging $20 for? $59.99. How can you justify that? The thing is that Nintendo is the only console manufacturer that still makes good games. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But they're also the greediest of all of them now. After losing Iwata, they did not lose their spirit to make good games. They still have that. But they lost that compassion for the gamers they used to have. The one where they said, we can't do this to them. We have to be friendly to our consumers. We have to make them feel welcomed. We have to make it so that they don't feel like we're trying to nickel and dime them, so that they hold on to their wallets desperately. The death of Iwata was the birth of Nintendo greed. I know I've officially been priced out of Nintendo games. I can't afford it. And that's just the way it is. Nintendo makes the best console games there are, but they're also the most expensive now. I won't be able to play the Nintendo games this generation unless I have a rich benefactor who decides to help me out. Me personally, I've been priced out of Nintendo. I've been priced out. It's the most expensive platform to play games on now. And you might be like, no. The PlayStation and Xbox, they cost more. That's completely untrue. The entry to get those consoles, the entry price might cost more, but they're not cheaper. They're not the more expensive platforms because the cost of the games. It doesn't take many games to make up for that. If you're paying $20 extra for your games on Nintendo Switch, then all you have to do is buy 10 games to make it so the price of the console is $650 instead. Are you going to buy more than 10 games for the entire length of the console? I mean, if you're a gamer, you are. If I had the Nintendo Switch, I definitely would want to own a lot more than 10 video games for it. It ends up becoming a wildly expensive console. It's going to end up costing gamers, especially those who want to collect physical media, which I am the type of person who prefers my games physically, it's going to cost an absurd amount of money. An absolute absurd amount of money over the lifetime of the console. I can't justify spending that much money. And I'm not alone. Obviously, a lot of people are the same way. But if any of you beautiful, highly intelligent, incredibly honorable people wish to buy me a Switch 2, well, that's different. I'll still play it. But, yeah. Other than that, I've been priced out. Nintendo decided they're like, bye, we don't like you. We don't like you. You care about your money too much. Goodbye. Go away. Well, that seems to be it. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. You beautiful, highly intelligent, incredibly honorable people. And for anyone else who didn't press that like button and also somehow made it to the end of this video, I'm proud of you. Maybe one day you can change and be like the rest of my viewers. All right, this is Xeric, and I'm out.